All right, today we are going to read a new story about a piece of clothing that goes on your hands. Can you guess what the story might be about before I even let you see it? What's something that you put on your hands, especially when it's cold outside? You put it on your hands to keep them warm. Oh, some of you said gloves. Yeah. Gloves is definitely something that you put on your hands. Can you think of anything else that might go on your hand? It's really similar to a glove. Oh, look, let me show you. Well, it's not even really in the picture. It is, but it's hard to see. It's right here in the snow. It's a mitten. And a mitten is kind of like a glove, except for when you wear a glove, each finger has its own hole. But in a mitten, all of these fingers go into one big hole, and just your thumb is by itself. So let's read our story, The Mitten. And this story is written and illustrated by the same person. So that means the same person wrote the words and made the pictures. And her name is Jan Brett. Before I start reading, I want you to look at the picture on the cover. What do you see besides the mitten in the snow? Yeah, there's a lot of animals. Should we count them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? 8 animals? What are the animals doing? I think they're looking at the mitten, but I don't know why they would be looking at a mitten. Why do you think they're looking at the mitten? Maybe they are thinking, I wonder where that came from. Maybe they're thinking, who lost that mitten? It doesn't belong here in the forest. Let's read and find out. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. So Nicky wanted some mittens, and he wanted them to be what color? White. He wanted them to be white like what? The snow. Is that a good idea? What do you think? Well, if he drops one and it's white like the snow, will it be easy or hard to see? Be hard to see. At first, his grandmother, Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. That's what we just talked about. It would be very hard to see. But you know what? Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally, Baba made him. Look at all the other colors of yarn she had. He could have had any of those colors on his mitten, but he wanted white. After she finished, she said, when you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you have your snow white mittens. So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. Do you remember what Baba said? She said, first, what is she going to do when Nicky comes home? What is she going to do first? She's not going to look for the mittens first. What is she going to do first? She's going to make sure that Nicky's safe, that he doesn't have any bumps or scratches, that he's not bleeding. She's going to make sure that he's safe and sound. And then what is she going to do? Look for his mittens. Nicky didn't get very far, and what happened? He dropped a mitten. Do you see it? It's by the tree. It's It's very hard to see because it's white like the snow. Do you think Nikki's going to have his mitten when he gets back home? A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. Burrowed means he climbed inside and he got comfy in there. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. Can you see him right there crawling in? He's going into the mitten. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. Admire means he stopped for a minute to look at his winter coat, his fur. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled in, feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. So they fit in the mitten, the mole and the rabbit. The mole was a little bit worried about there being enough room, but why do you think he moved over when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, his big feet? Yeah, he didn't want to get kicked, did he? So he said, I think I can make room for you, rabbit. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Snuffling means he's breathing kind of loud, like, can you make a noise like that? He's snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they made room. Wow. It's kind of amazing that 3 animals fit inside a mitten that fits on your hand. What do you think's happening to the mitten as these animals are getting inside there? Do you think it's staying the same, or do you think it's changing? How could it be changing? Is it growing? Is it stretching? As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. Look at that mitten. Look how big it is now. It really has stretched a lot, just like we said. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons are his claws, they quickly let him in. I don't know. It's the words say that the owl got in the mitten, but I just don't know. Do you think he's going to fit in there? And what if too many animals get in? What would happen to the mitten? Or what do you think might happen to the mitten? Let's see what happened when the owl got in. Oh, well, he fits in there. He's in there. Do you see him? Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. Oh my goodness, this badger right here, he's big. There's no way he's going to fit in that mitten. Not with all those other animals in there. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl, they were not pleased. They weren't happy. There was no room left. But when they saw his diggers, that would be his paws. He has big claws on his paws. They gave him the thumb. It means they gave him a thumbs up, and they decided to let him in. I don't know. I still don't know. I don't know if he's going to fit in there. Look how tight they are in there. And do you think that the mitten can stretch anymore? What happens if it stretches too much? It could tear. What do you think Baba's going to say if Nikki comes back without a mitten? What is she going to say if he comes back with a mitten that's torn? Let's keep reading. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox, trotting by, stopped to investigate. He stopped to check it out. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy, made him feel sleepy. The fox poked his muzzle, that's his nose, in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be. But what animal would argue with a big bear? Look how big that mitten is now. And that bear thinks he's going to get in it too? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size. But Baba's good knitting held fast. She knitted it so well, she did such a good job, that it's staying together. It's holding tight. Look at all the animals in there. Oh. What do we have in there? We've got a rabbit, a hedgehog, a badger, a mole, a bear, a fox, an owl, and what's this on his nose? Along came a meadow mouse no bigger than an acorn. She wriggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. Oh, look what? Look at the animals. What happened? They're all out of the mitten. I wonder if the mitten tore. The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Ha, 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 choo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. What is it? It was the lost mitten, silhouetted against the blue sky. As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. Remember, what was she going to do first when he came home? Yeah, she's going to make sure he's safe and sound. So first she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. Can you see the mittens in Baba's hands? One is much, much bigger than the other one. This one is much bigger. Do you see Baba's face? She's probably thinking, how did this mitten get so stretched? How did it get so big? What do you think Nicky's going to tell her? Does Nicky know? Did he see the animals get in it? What's he going to tell his Baba? What would you tell your grandma if you came home with a stretched out mitten and a small mitten? Think about it. I hope you enjoyed our story today, and I will see you next time.